want to make sure everything's actually there. Hey, so I kind of talked a little bit about it. I shared it into this channel a little bit, and I shared it over to TCM channel as well in the hardware hacking section. So kind of just playing a little bit around with RF stuff. That's kind of where my background is, and figuring out what I can make a satellite dish do what it's intended to do. So just so everyone kind of understands, kind of where I started with this project is found a dish tailgater project. You can buy them online for like $300 or eBay for like 40. And I was kind of looking for something that I could like pan, tilt, and zoom like a some sort of RF antenna. And through that process, I was going to want to just be able to pan and tilt it. Trying to build all that out myself is going to cost a lot more money and time and effort than I wanted to put towards it. I went on the FCC website and I looked at the circuit board, and there was a USB connection on the back of inside of the satellite dome. So I was really curious what it was able to do, and it kind of led me down a rabbit hole of plugging it in and hearing it connect on my Linux machine. And so basically, plugged it in, and all I did was ran LSL USB. And if you can see on my remote connection to one of my machines, I see RS-232 emulation demo. I did some Googling, and I figured out what TTY does, and I kind of dived into what are my new TTY devices. And the one that stuck out was ACM0. And so I could do that here right now. So as I went ahead and I used sudo screen straight into ACM0, and I got the screen. I didn't get any errors, and so all I did the typical thing like help, and I see with no like security on this thing whatsoever, literally just a USB device plugging into it. I can read VRAM, I could write to the VRAM directly to it. But what that allows me to kind of do a little bit is I can kind of see ASM like is its current heading. Problem with TTY, if you guys don't know, I can't it's hard to like interact with a little bit. It's a little funky. But there's a lot of interesting stuff. So I found out ASM is just like if you guys didn't know, I actually have it hooked up right now, and so it's actually communicating back to me and moving as I send these commands. And I'll probably actually here, let me do that right now while I have it. Let's turn my camera over to the actual device itself. So there it is right there. It's a good piece right there. Yeah, so what I could do is if I type in like ASM 6000, it'll start to rotate. And I'm remotely connected to this thing right now, so it's pulling my hack RF off. That's fine.
Dude, that's so cool.
Hey Kevin,
Right.
can you real quick? Can you give us a little backstory for why you created this and what it's for?
Yeah. So, kind of just want to start to really wanted to learn more like hardware hacking stuff, and kind of wanted to play around. And who doesn't like robotics, right? Like I think every hardware nerd likes to hear about robotics or control something. And so like that's literally I want to control. If you want to think about steering an antenna, right, and being able to control it, that kind of opens up a lot more avenues, right? So I have a hack RF, and I play around in the RF spectrum a lot. So that's kind of where this kind of led me down this rabbit hole. So I have a hack RF hooked up to it, and I'll actually show you guys this. It's actually just duct tape in the back here. But what I did, what I want to do with it, which I think is what you guys are trying to ask me, is like what's the purpose of this? If you could take a Wi-Fi signal, right, and you want to push it even further away, I was able to hit Wi-Fi devices for over 2 miles away as long as I had line of sight to it using like a Yagi antenna. When you look at the RF spectrum as far as like the propagation models with a holographic, I'll just say a poly dish antenna, a dish like this, you're going to get a far better like range. So for that Wi-Fi device, so I can emit Wi-Fi to the middle of a farmyard and get you Wi-Fi if I wanted to. I could steer it. But you can start playing with a lot of interesting stuff. So like right now, let me get this tape off real quick. But I went online for like $8. I bought a circular polarized like antenna, and I removed the original RF cone. So right here, this you can see, this is kind of like the original feed cone. So this will talk up to like, I think it was when I looked at the specs on it, it was like 20 to like 30 gigahertz, right? So like that's not going to help me for Wi-Fi stuff. But like if you have like a different type of antenna type, right? So I think everyone knows what the alpha antenna is. I could plug this into the back of this, replace the feed cone with one of these. Now I'm talking really far ranges on a Wi-Fi, and so that kind of opens up some new doors. You guys kind of don't understand like the RF like propagation models. Like this is a really fun antenna type. So that's a right-hand circular polarized like antenna if you wanted to pull it down to bare bone. So that's like typically used for like NOAA satellites. And all I have that is hooked up directly to my hack RF, which goes up to about 6 gigahertz. So kind of just kind of see what the spectrum looks like at different when I start playing with different antenna types. Or I could just take this alpha antenna, plug into the back of this feed cone here, and I can get Wi-Fi signal strength even further. Um, so it kind of gives up a few different like features that you typically wouldn't have. And as I'm kind of playing around with some different ideas, if I can through a script be able to tell this antenna where to point, I could in theory use what we call like a amplitude detection models to say, hey, we detected a drone that's not using something like Wireshark, like a new MAC address entered our area. As I tell this thing to scan, we can then track this new device, whether it be like a drone in your backyard that you don't want in your backyard. You can at least know it's there. I'm not saying do anything illegal with that, like de-auth it off the network or something, but this can now start tracking devices if you were wirelessly emitting, and this antenna could physically move around and detect that antenna type or detect that emitter through by doing that. It's kind of powered up, so I can't move it by hand right now. But those are some interesting things, and also track. So satellites, they move obviously pretty quick over Earth, especially lower Earth orbit ones. But if you had this antenna and you put it on top of your roof, you could track this antenna or the satellite that's coming down, beaming images down from like NOAA. Those are unencrypted. Anyone can capture those antennas. You can kind of Google those and kind of play around with some of that. Did I kind of answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, out of
Yes.
curiosity, Kevin, do you actually have that bare bone like antenna hooked up to that actual motor like bit, where if it goes through the feed horn?
I did until I just took it off.
How well did that work? Out of curiosity, like
I didn't take it. I didn't take it outside yet and play with it. I just wanted to kind of hook it up and do some basic tests inside here. That's kind of one of my next big things. Once I program via Python, and I will lead with like I'm not a really good Python. Like I can do a for loop, and that was basically it. I typically want to leave like my heavy lifting to someone else when it comes to scripting. But
yeah.
so what that kind of led me to is I went to ChatGPT. I paid the $20 a month, and I got version 4. And so what I'll do is kind of get that piece set up. Where is it? All right. So what I kind of couple different tests. Let's go ahead and run this. Is running through ChatGPT. It ended up. Okay, hold on. Make sure I'm on the right device.
How is ChatGPT 4? I've only ever used the free one.
So I used ChatGPT 4 has like a bunch of limitations right now, so it's not the best. I'm going to lead with that. Not the best version, but it did shoot out a bunch of unique stuff. So like I'm not used to making GUIs. I thought I had a working one on this Cali Purple, but I think Cali Purple kind of shit the bed on me. So this entire script right here, it wrote for me. But Cali Purple is the one that's taking a poop right now. So I might have to pipe on over to my other device that I have sitting next to it and do that. But basically, I even I like it because I went over to. I can't tell a big difference. Let me lead with that. No, I'm not gonna be able to get over to it right now. What I was able to do is as I got errors, so like this is a really good example. I got an error for as I try to run this, right? I have no idea what it's trying to do. So let me just go ahead and I can copy this and I can take it over to my ChatGPT 4 and say, hey, I got this error. And it says, hey, there's an issue when trying to do the Tinker window. And it gives me actually troubleshooting steps like try echoing display. Here's the X host. And so it actually helps me start to troubleshoot that code as I'm going through these commands. And as I'm working through like code, I have no idea what I'm doing half the time, especially when it deals with GUIs. And it finally shot me out. That's why I question mark glass. Finally shot me out working code for that would work inside of like a normal Kali box, but I think there's something wrong with like one of like how the display works, so I'm unable to actually execute this correctly. I think it is the issue it's running into. If you guys, anyone like programmers here, want to help me just live troubleshoot this for like 2 seconds? never try to give a talk last second.
So for myself, I'd be that guy who'd be like, you know what, just make your Python code an API, a local hosted API, and then just fucking call it from JavaScript, because that's what I know. But obviously, not everyone knows that, so.
Yeah, no, and that's 1,000% fair. When I might
Copilot.
hop on, yeah, I thought about doing Copilot as well. I might just open up Discord on this other computer I have here, where I have Linux running on WSL2, which is amazing. If you guys don't know, I've been actually loving it.
Looks like those errors are just basic X Windows errors.
Yep, 1,000%.
So you can just like break out of that and just test it with I don't know, X clock.
Yeah, I'll probably troubleshoot this in a little bit. I don't want to kind of do it live, but unless it's like I just delete something and call it something different. I know normal Kali has all the stuff already done, so.
Did you SSH into that box or is that local?
RDP local.
Oh.
So, but well, I'm not gonna jump around too much on it, but that's kind of like some of the cool stuff that I'm looking at doing is kind of applying stuff. One of the big problems I had was powering this dish. So this takes like 13 volts of power, and I was trying to run coax cable off of a bunch of 9 volts, and anytime I ran the motor, it killed it. So I ended up buying like this $50 device here that literally its sole goal is to like troubleshoot. And you can like kind of view the spectrum, and it's usually supposed to be for like your dish installers. They'll sit here and start to troubleshoot like your signal and try to make stuff work. But the big benefit of this I found was it actually has 13 and 16 volt power, and it can charge and provide power at the same time. So this is kind of like what's powering the entire dish right now is this little handheld troubleshooter that you can actually say, hey, I want you to point at certain satellites. So right now it's set to like go find Bulgaria Sat-1. I have no idea what that is, but there's some of the spectrum off of that. Well, a little cool handheld device, didn't cost much, $50 new, and that's how this entire thing's being powered and recharging at the same time. And it's battery powered, so I don't even need I think it ran about an hour without it. So the concept is that I kind of want to play with next is once I get Python to work and I get the GUI with Kali Purple configured. What I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the feed cone, which already took off. And I'm going to run a Raspberry Pi that I have right here that I haven't programmed yet. Literally just put it into the back of this antenna here. And Velcroed in. I'm going to put all the cables down and in. And my goal is to use like an alpha card or use like this some of the unique antennas to actually speak to different types of antenna radio types, like your satellite antennas. And my goal is to do the Hack the Sat challenge for DEF CON. Probably not gonna make it this year as I try to configure this, but if anyone's not familiar with that, Hack the Sat challenges, they actually have for the first time ever like a real satellite orbiting Earth, and the CTF is to hack the sat. So kind of interesting to see what comes of that event. Super interesting. That's kind of cool stuff. I like space stuff. So kind of curious if you guys have any other ideas. I know I'm gonna kind of open the floor up for like if you guys have any other questions, but what would be another way that I could utilize like this antenna other than like track drones or something like that? Because that's kind of like my best use case right now is I have a satellite that I could put up on a roof of any type of vehicle and ward drive from very far away.
Starlink.
Starlink, yeah, hack the sat.
No, you make that the drone and have it track base for max signal.
Yeah, and I apologize for my garage right now. I'm like actually in the middle of remodeling it, so dropping my mic. But that's kind of like my big project update. If you guys got any questions, like please ask.
Got to share a parts list, man. I'd love to check out the what it takes to build one of those.
Yeah, definitely. Once I finish up a little bit, I think my big thing right now is honestly just get it to a functional state, and then once I get it to a functional state, kind of play around with the spectrum a little bit more, different antenna types, see what would be best.
Cool. Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to checking that out. That'll be a fun thing to bring to DEF CON this year.
Yeah,
hopefully you can get it past TSA.
Yeah, hopefully get it through TSA. I'm not super worried about it. It's just a bunch of metal pieces and a battery, right? I'm trying to see if I don't know why this ChatGPT 4 is killing me right now. Not showing my history. I was hoping to have it up, kind of show you the code flow, but some of my prompts was something as simple as so I mean I could demo ChatGPT 4 right now, but some of the stuff was pretty complex that I was asking it to do as far as my mind, like make a GUI that I could control a satellite dish over through a TTY. And then actually making that interactive was kind of a challenge, going from I want a response box, I want to send commands, and then working on like a current heading. Oh no, I just dropped that.
Yeah, I saw you were using tkinter, which is like a GUI Python library.
Yeah, and I didn't know what that was either. And then once I was able to finally go through that to make a GUI for me, and then I was asking it to say, hey, not only do I want to make a GUI, but I want you to make additional push buttons. Instead of me having to type into the program, talk to ACM0, make a drop-down box that says, list all my TTY devices that allows the user to just drop down, click ACM0, and that's the box that will communicate to. And then also any commands that get sent, put it in another window. And as I start to do that, get the HackRF interjected with that as well. So let's just say if I was trying to scan for a new MAC address or do signal characteristics, I asked ChatGPT, like, what are the signal characteristics of any wireless device operating like on 802.11 type of protocols, right? And so using like ESSIDs, data flow, like I want to know if it's it actually made a whole script for a interjection from TCP dump to Scrappy. Scrappy's then gonna open up those packets and see what it is and say, hey, this is a video link that just entered your area. And so now you know that there's a drone with a video link on there, and it's going to provide you the frequency and everything else popping up on the screen. And so that was all very useful because now you can look at if you want to think of yourself as trying to down a drone, which would be super illegal, don't do it. But you would know the frequency and everything else to do associated with that, and would actually alert the user. And I was talking with ChatGPT as well on how you can not only identify the signal, but also what would be options to put a payload against that whether do a vulnerability analysis, right from the get-go, and you can kind of see how far depth you can go, see that this is vulnerable to XYZ, and then maybe even like fetch you that vulnerability so you can down a drone that was like firstly spying on you or whatever the case might be.